How's it going, everyone? This is Dr. Shak. Welcome back to another video. If you're new, definitely consider subscribing. Today I'm going to break down to you some of the important things that you need to consider or do before you submit your personal statement to AMCAS or ACOMAS. Alright, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about was basically just complete your personal statement in chunks and then develop some kind of like timeline of the story that you want to convey. So remember, the personal statement is just your story. You need to use that story as your reasons as to why you're the best fit for the schools that you're applying to. So when I was applying, I basically broke down my personal statement into three parts: the hook, the body, and the conclusion. The hook is probably one of the more important ones because it gives you a chance to keep the admissions committee member that's reading your work to keep reading and a chance for them to not feel bored. Think about it. AdCom members have tens of thousands of applications to run through. So you basically only have 2 to 3 sentences to completely hook them into whatever story you're conveying. So the best thing about that hook is conveying that moment of inception, that aha, that is what this particular aspect of my life is the reason why I considered medical school to be a serious career choice. I'm going to talk about how to get to that in a separate video. Probably I'm going to release it this week, talking more specifically about each of these parts of the personal statement. Now, the body of your personal statement can be broken down into however many paragraphs that you want, but essentially all you're doing is coming up with specific milestones or key instances in your pre-med journey that further shows what the impact of that milestone is. So by impact, all I mean is what emotional feeling you got out of that experience that made you more and more committed to pursuing the path of a future physician. You got to be strategic in whatever activities that you want to talk about in your personal statement. I mean, you're going to be talking about it in your work and activities section, and so for that reason you can basically re-include it in your personal statement, but you want to talk about the emotion behind that, the impact behind that specific thing that you're already going to cover in your work and activities section. So if it's about research, talk about how that research made you more committed to pursuing the sciences or medical sciences. More often than not, there's usually a paragraph that people include about clinical experiences, and that's kind of the thing that most admissions committee members look at. They wanted to see what in your clinical experiences have allowed you to reach the conclusion that you want to be a physician. I highly encourage you, if you have any clinical experiences, to include that as part of your body paragraph. All right, lastly, the last part of the personal statement is the conclusion. The conclusion is not really just a summary of what you said in your hook or body. Instead, in this section, you really got to convey, this is what becoming a doctor means to me, how these experiences have led me to this feeling. And 3, this is what I've learned from my experiences, and this is how I grew from these experiences that allow me to be a better fit for your program. This is how I grew as a person and a future student doctor. All right, so now that I'm done talking about chunking the personal statement and developing like a sort of storyline, I wanted to talk a little bit more about editing the personal statement. And this boils down to 2 things. The first thing is that you need to find the best possible group, like a couple of people here and there that have some kind of experience in editing or reviewing specifically med school personal statement writing. They are the best possible people that will provide the best possible feedback. This means that you got to ask some other med student or some kind of faculty member that was on a med school admissions committee or a med school advisor that can take a look at what you've written so far. If you have to consult a med school prep company to help review or edit your writing, then by all means go for it. The advantage of that is that if it's a reputable med school prep company, then you're pretty much guaranteed some kind of faculty member or someone who does have experience with editing personal statements. The only downside is that it costs a lot of money. The second thing about editing your personal statement is that if you don't have at least 5 drafts, then you're doing something wrong. I genuinely believe that even the strongest writers or creative writers definitely struggle with conveying why they want to be a doctor and why they'd be a great fit for any kind of med school program. Writing a personal statement, whether you're a strong writer or a weak writer, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of drafts and editing to come up with a genuine statement about why you want to be a future physician. Your first ever draft is going to be garbage. It's just going to be total trash, and you need someone to completely take apart that draft so that you can improve upon that. For example, when I was writing my first couple of drafts, I initially had my family members look at it for grammar or any kind of spelling mistakes or any problems with the flow of the content that I was talking about, but I didn't have them exclusively. I then transitioned on to a more reputable source for editing and reviewing my work. I then asked several med students that were like either M1s or M2s that looked at my work and provided meaningful feedback. It took me a total of 10 tries or 10 drafts until I was comfortable submitting my work to a COMIS, and an MCAS. Now, some people had more drafts compared to the amount that I had. Some people had less. It ultimately comes down to how comfortable you feel at communicating a good message as to why you're a great fit for a program. It's very likely that you're gonna have at least 5 drafts, and that's just what it'll take, and it'll take a lot of grinding to do that. Don't worry, this entire process is a very, very long-winded process. From the time you submit your primary application all the way down to whether or not you get accepted or not. And that's why I'm making these videos. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. It's helping my channel grow. If you like the content, leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Comment below if you want me to talk more about other aspects of the medical school application cycle, and I'd be happy to do that. And as always, I like keeping it real with you. Peace.